Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Sizzling in Mississippi on the We Believe Digital Studios in Jackson, Mississippi. So glad you're joining us tonight. We've got a wonderful program planned. It's not, not wonderful like in good news, but wonderful in we have a spectacular guest with us tonight, a real giant and just full of knowledge about these issues that are going on in our state and in our capital city. Chris Young alongside my co-host, Maati Joan Primm. Good evening, Joni.
Hi there.
Good to see you. And welcome to Sizzling in Mississippi to Ms. Danielle Holmes, national organizer for the Poor People's Campaign, national social justice organizer for Repairs of the Breach, co-founder of the Mississippi Rapid Response Coalition, and executive director of Mississippi Prison Reform Coalition. Lots and lots of hats to wear, so we're just delighted you could take time out to be with us tonight, Danielle. Welcome aboard.
Thank you for having me today.
Do you want to spend a couple of minutes maybe sharing with the people what, I don't know, what was at the top of your dashboard today or anything like that?
Yeah, so at the top of my dashboard today is our upcoming Poor People's Campaign and Low-Wage Workers Mass Assembly that will be happening this Saturday at the state capitol. We will be uplifting voting rights, environmental issues, as well as education, gun violence. We're talking about profit and proliferation. We're talking about the extremist takeover that we're seeing as it relates to our state government and how they've tried to take over the blackest city in America, deeming us as incompetent to lead here in the city. And we counter that, right? Because we know that there is black excellence, majestic in this city. And so many issues that we'll be dealing with next Saturday, on this upcoming Saturday at 10 o'clock. Starting at 10, we'll be marching from Smith Robertson Museum to the state capitol, and then we'll kick off the assembly at 12. But we can talk about that later at the end of the show.
No, that's fine. I mean, I'm glad you put that out there. I knew that from the press event, but it slipped my mind with all these other issues going on. So thank you for bringing that up. And, I guess first on the list, it looks like we're back at it again with this legislator, Senator David Parker, Republican. All these takeover stuff is always done by white Republicans, white Christian conservatives. They just take it upon themselves to do what they want, this superiority thing. And last year it was this bill to take over the Jackson water system, and it didn't make it through. It died on the calendar. But if any of us thought for a minute that it wouldn't be back, we were just idiots, because it's back, and it's back in full force. And this time around, ladies, it's not just make a regional water authority. Give Jackson some control, Byram some control, Flowood, Pearl. It's not all that's out. That's out. This time, it gives permission. The legislation, if passed, would give permission for the state to purchase Jackson's water sewer assets. As Danielle said, they simply cannot abide black leadership. They don't offer to help. They never heard about that trip from Jerusalem to Jericho. They don't know nothing about it. And especially pounce on somebody when they're down. If that's the way you treat your neighbors, then that's exactly what we're seeing here. But they don't view us like neighbors. They view us like an inconvenience, or foreigners, or some twisted. I don't know how they arrange it in their little minds, but yeah. So let's open up with that. I mean, a bill 22 pages long, 12,000 words from this optometrist.
Yeah. But it's indicative of not only racism, but of just aberrant greed.
Yeah.
You have Jackson's water system that now is being funded. Mm-hmm. Now that we're getting money in, and it's a lot of it, mm-hmm. it's when they came in to steal.
Yeah.
And this is all it is. It's just grand theft.
And Maati, we're reminded too, when the federal government, that first $600 million, it didn't go to the state of Mississippi.
Right.
It went straight to the city of Jackson.
Right.
They bypassed. The feds are well aware. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, there's glitches in the legal system and stuff like that. And I know, Danielle, I view you as an expert on that. I try to watch it, but I know you know so much more. But I don't think that's a routine occurrence. I read that they know about the years of neglect. In 2021, we asked for $47 million after that winter freeze. Asked for $47 million in bonds. We're not looking for, in a bond request,
Yeah.
they gave the city $3 million. What's that? The 6% of what you asked for?
Yeah. It's right.
So here we are. Danielle, what would you share with us on this?
So first, let's go back to the author of the bill, Senator David Parker,
Mm-hmm.
as you said, a Republican out of DeSoto. When we look at these individuals, we have to first identify who are they, right? These are nothing more than Trump supporters, dog whistlers, who this is election season. The presidential election is up for grabs. There are issues on both sides, right? But we have to understand why this individual felt so compelled this go-round,
Mm-hmm.
this time, this legislative session, to drop another extremist bill. This is a slap in the face to the leadership of this city. It's a slap in the face to the residents of this city, because none of us have been consulted, not even the administration. City council members hadn't been consulted that we know of. There may have been some who have been talking behind closed doors, as we know in the past. We've known for Councilwoman Virgie Lindsay, Councilman Ashby Foote. We've known for Councilman Kenneth Stokes, Councilman Aaron Banks, Councilman Hartley,
Yeah.
Vernon Hartley, to all go in the back room, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as I've said before over and over, Jackson is not for sale. However, we've been placed on this chopping block, on this for sale list. And so folks are making backdoor deals. If it's not the garbage, it's now the water system. It was our airport, and the airport is still up.
It's still up for grabs.
That's still in litigation,
Yeah.
even to this day. And some things are coming down on that. But then you look at our school system and how there was an attempt to take over our school system,
7
right?
years ago.
7 years ago. And now you intentionally starve out the schools. Then you send someone else here to close down schools,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which that was his agenda, Dr. Green's agenda from when he first came here. There was talk of him shutting down a lot of JPS schools.
Mm-hmm.
And now we see it coming into fruition. And so we ask ourselves whether they look like me, my skin folks, or folks that don't look like me. What is the agenda here? And it's all a money grab. Now, Senator David Parker wants the state to take over the city of Jackson's water system. However, in his very own county, there is PFAS he has a poisonous water supply in DeSoto County that he's not even addressing. There's no state legislation, no bills have been dropped to discuss this. And if you'll bring that up, I would love to show the audience, because I don't want to just talk. I want folks to actually see a visual of just what we're saying. Now, if you zoom in on DeSoto County, and what is PFAS, you may ask? I'm not a scientist, but I will give you my knowledge and understanding of PFAS. PFAS is a contaminant that's in water, and it's called a forever chemical, meaning that you can never get it out of its water supply. You can't treat it. You can only try to compound it with more chemicals to break it down, but it's no such thing as removing it out of its water supply. The only way to fix PFAS is to really build a whole new wastewater treatment facility, right? And so if Consumer Report did testings in 82 counties, and maybe 2 or 3 counties came back with no PFAS detected.
So the whole state contaminated.
The whole state of Mississippi's water supply is contaminated.
But what you're saying, Danielle, is this guy from up there that's introduced this bill now in 2 consecutive years to take over the Jackson water system has worse PFAS levels up there than we have down here.
Has worse PFAS levels in DeSoto County than we do in Hinds County. If you go and look, Alcorn County water, if you'll bring that back up, Alcorn County, Corinth, Mississippi, has the highest level of PFAS out of this report. Now, Alcorn County is far from Jackson, Mississippi, so they can't blame Jackson, Mississippi for the quality of water in Alcorn County. If you zoom in, the audience will see that Alcorn County, Corinth, Mississippi, has 90 ppt. That's the level of PFAS, the highest level out of all 82 counties. That isn't being talked about. And this isn't a black community. This is a predominantly white community where a poor white, and I won't even label them as poor white, but a white family was interviewed about this crisis that's going on right in their facility. And so you deal with so this is the residential side, but then we talk about those who are incarcerated at the Alcorn County Regional Facility, and you have individuals that are dying or being very sickly in there that are having to consume this poisonous water that they haven't been educated on, that this water is poisonous. And so they're consuming it, and especially someone who doesn't get any money in to buy commissary, they're forced to drink this water.
Right.
And they're becoming really, really sickly off this water. This isn't being talked about. And so we have to put it before Mississippi and let Mississippi know, before you talk about a city, a municipality with unstable water, we want to talk about the state with poisonous water. Because I can survive with unstable water, but my chances of living consuming poisonous water are very slim.
Right.
And so the priority, the conversation must change, the narrative must change. We must dispel all the myths, the lies, these false narratives, and tell the truth of where we are in Mississippi. Mississippi doesn't want to address its own issues. And so this is why you have a problem with legislators who may say, oh, I'm against the takeover. Well, if you're against the takeover, why aren't you talking about the deadly water that's flowing throughout the state of Mississippi?
Yeah.
Because these are lives people are dying daily from this poisonous water. This is what you call policy violence. And Mississippi deems itself as a, a pro-life state.
Have you heard any of our delegation speaking about it?
I have not heard any of our Hinds County delegation speaking out against this. I have only heard word of mouth that they had not been consulted.
Yeah.
Right? But when you look at memos that have been passed through, the communication reads as if somebody has been talking to someone, right? And so wordplay is everything. So when you look at them and they say, well, I thought your comments, when you're writing to a senator and you're saying to the senator, I thought your comments were very good on this issue, that lets me know that there's been some communication with you, right? And so we have to let our elected officials know we're no fools. And last year, the Republicans put them on blast regarding the HB 1020 and Senate Bill 2343, when they acted as if they didn't know about these bills coming up. The Republican legislators told them, "Hey, you all have been sitting in our office in our back rooms for the last 2, 3, 5 years, asking for this. We're only doing this because this is what you asked for." So here we go again with the rodeo from the Hinds County delegation.
And when you sent me these charts, I don't know what it was, 4 or 5 days ago or something, Danielle, I forwarded them to Senator David Blunt, one of the longest term serving people here in Hinds County, and never got a reply even.
Right, and I want to just say I stopped Senator David Blunt a few weeks ago at the state capitol, and I asked him about this particular issue with the PFAS and this water that's across the state. And he wanted me to send an email, so it was my fault. I did not send the email, but you sent the email.
Yeah.
And you didn't hear a response back, right?
No.
And so these are games that our elected officials are playing.
Yeah.
We called it last year, and we had folks that were avid supporters of them who were mad at community because we're holding them accountable. Right? When you become an elected official, you placed yourself in a position to be held accountable and questioned based off of your actions.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to fight back. Mm-hmm. There's no question asked. If taking it to court, tying it up in court, thank God he has blessed community organizations here in the state, in the city of Jackson, state of Mississippi, with now attorneys. Thanks to my co-chair, Reverend Dr. William Barber, who sent forward justice here when this water crisis and takeover first came up, right?
Yeah.
And he said we need to challenge them in court.
Right.
And the first thing was, his suggestion was we need to file a fair housing claim against the state of Mississippi in order to hold the state accountable. Because we saw the state's intentional neglect when it comes to the city of Jackson. And we know that it's not Greek for the state to allocate infrastructure fundings to other municipalities, but they refuse to allocate funding to the city of Jackson. And you ask yourself why. And I'm going to be quiet after this.
No.
As Miss Yolanda Singleton, who's leads up Experience Jackson, said the other night at the Black Excellence Awards, that Jackson was the best kept secret. Mm-hmm. And there is some wealth here in the city of Jackson. They want it. This is why they're trying to gentrify. The whole ulterior motive is to gentrify Jackson.
Sure.
So if you can't starve us out by taking our airport, taking that revenue, you want to take over our water system, which that is probably the last main source of revenue here for the city of Jackson.
And already failed at taking over the schools.
And already failed at taking over the schools.
But got a plan B, which is the next thing on our list.
We're going to talk about that next.
Yeah.
So, but that's a serious issue when they want to bring in the One Lake project.
You're right.
Right? You want to flood out a community.
Yeah.
That's predominantly black,
Mm-hmm.
but and you would say middle class to poor people live in that community.
Okay.
Although it's in Northeast Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then you don't want to talk about the issues and the strain that it will put on the water treatment plants, right? And all of our infrastructure. But all they see, and when I say they, our state legislators, our state government, is money.
Mm-hmm.
Jackson is money. And so they want the capital city to be a suburban area. We're going to uproot all the poor and low wealth people out of this area. Yeah, the black wealthy can stay, right? Because you're a source of revenue. But this predominantly black city, you have the most black consumers that patronize majority of every restaurant in this city.
Right.
And yet, they want to uproot us.
Sure.
And they're going to do it.
I know my rent went up in the last 3 years by $30. Then the next renewal was by $40, and this year, in a couple of weeks, I'm supposed to sign a lease and it's going up by $50. Just over the course of 3 years like that.
Yeah.
$120 over 3 years. And I don't know, well, where I live, that's a lot.
And then we talk about gentrification. We see that Atmos Energy. You're here, Atmos is out south.
Oh.
You've had probably 4 explosions. I've reached out to Commissioner DeKeither Stamps regarding this issue because it was very troubling to me. I was promised a meeting. I did not get that meeting. I did get a chance to witness via YouTube Atmos Energy briefing the Public Service Commission on what was happening in South Jackson. It was pretty much a swept under the rug type of deal. Mm-hmm. But reality is that we're in trouble, right? We're living in danger right here in the city of Jackson. And utility companies have a way of paying off elected officials so that they can remain quiet and not be held accountable. What has happened here in the city of Jackson with Atmos, they should have fixed these lines years ago. So now we're trying to repair some lines. You have, and I'm not even sure those that are out there, I see various of people working. Some may not know what they're doing. We don't know what kind of certification these folks hold.
They said they were going to put $500 million into Jackson. Just
Well,
think of all the money that they have if they're going to do that.
But we know that lines are exploding.
Yeah, and a lady
Houses
died.
are being blown up.
Yeah.
And there has been one death.
Yeah.
And how many more deaths have to happen? But thank God for Congressman Thompson, because he's launched a federal probe into now what is going on with Atmos Energy. And the scary part is that when they leave South Jackson, they're supposed to come all the way up to North Jackson. So that same danger that is in South Jackson now could be in North Jackson tomorrow or whenever they make it this way. And so we got some real serious issues, but and it's done by design. I'm thoroughly convinced at this point that it's all by design.
It's a coordinated effort.
And it's to uproot and those who are not wanted in this city. As they've told us before, if we don't like it here, we can go back to Africa. Right. And so since we ain't moving fast enough to get to Africa, they'll run us on the way.
I watched the same thing happen in Norfolk, Virginia about five years ago. They started a gentrification project. All the housing downtown and stuff like that. People were being rooted up and being sent miles away was the nearest opportunities, and the transportation challenges and everything. But it's all wanting to make it all whiter and more suburban, right in the middle of the city.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's going. This is happening all around the country.
Yes.
And it's environmental racism, and it's so indicative of Mississippi. Mississippi knows how to operate only one way. They're so regretful that black people aren't in chains.
Yes.
And picking their cotton.
Yes.
That they are trying to figure out another way. What can we do to keep black people held captive without physical chains? And the way that they're doing it is to just undermine everything, every progress, even the maintenance that black people have. They're making sure that we can't have or do anything. Ferris Street is the same problem. Black people on Ferris Street receive no justice. You have people who have given proposals and been promised that they could purchase buildings. Can't do it. However, a former street-walking, crack-addicted prostitute gets the best building on Ferris Street for $10 because she's white. Then she's turned around, she gets the old New Deal grocery store. Why? Because she's white. She gets a building next to the old YMCA for little of nothing. And she's allowed to do this without any competition, without having to jump through any hoops. But black people, Ferris Street is ours, and they don't want us to keep it.
That's right.
It's just so much. It's so much to take in. We're through with our first segment, and the producer's going to take us out for a couple quick commercials, and then we'll be right back with you.
Are you dreaming of becoming an entrepreneur, but you're not sure where or how to start? At Entrepreneurs Academy 101, our online program will guide you step by step on how to start and grow your own business. We offer courses such as how to write a business plan, how to create a budget, and so much more. Our online training program is designed for you to learn at your own pace, and there's no set order to complete this program. Because our academy is online, you have the choice to learn with a group, with friends, or individually. Upon completion of the entire curriculum, you will receive a certificate of achievement to acknowledge that you have completed the training needed to become a successful entrepreneur. So enroll today to design the life that you love. Contact your entrepreneur coach, Brenda Myers, at 601-672-0695 or visit our website at www.entrepreneursacademy101.com for more information.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, Keepers of the Knowledge for People Who Speak the Truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippiLink.com and click on Home Delivery.
Welcome back, everybody, to Sizzling in Mississippi. We're so glad you're joining us. If you want to call in, please feel free, 1-800-492-5186. 800-492-5186. We'll be happy to hear from you. Ladies, I mean, where do we go? It just, that's why this show is here, to talk about these things that go on. And I don't know, it just doesn't end with this water thing. It really, it breaks your back. And the other thing too, I run into some of these guys at Blue Monday when I go, and last year, and I'm not going to name any names because I'm over there. There's a lot of spirits flowing and stuff. But last year around the 1020 issue, I know I told Maati this before, but 4 out of 5 of them I just asked point blank told me they didn't even read that bill. So the power of the leadership that's got this bad spirit in it, this racist spirit, is so strong that a lot of them guys, they're not even reading the bills, and they just line up with whatever the leadership says. The leadership says jump, they say how high. And that's what we're up against, a super majority of ignorance and racism and unreconstructed thinking.
Right.
Yeah, I would say I've seen firsthand where legislators are not reading the bills, right? And so that traps us a lot. But when you see oppositions or those who have their foot on our necks, they are training throughout. When legislative session is over with in March, early April, they're back in convenings again, right? They're having retreats after retreats, at conferences after conferences. They're going to educate themselves from the time they leave session until the time session reconvenes back in January.
The ALEC, the ALEC.
Because they have that's right.
Yeah.
You have these folks who, the Greater Chamber of Commerce, you have ALEC, you have the Koch brothers.
Claremont Institute.
Yes, all of them.
Heritage Foundation.
All of them.
Yeah.
They are putting this money into these conservative leaderships across this country to feed and fuel their agenda. There's recently been almost a takedown of NRA with its leaders. We're going to see what happens there. But we can't leave out the National Rifle Association, who's also funding these folks to push their agenda of access to, where guns are freely laying on this desk, on the streets, wherever. They want people to have access to guns. I wouldn't be surprised if the next thing that comes out is you can be 15 years old.
Right.
And it'd be legal to tote an assault rifle.
Well.
Yet, you have the hardest time trying to vote or trying to find your polling location,
Sure.
but you don't have a hard time trying to find where to go and purchase a gun
Get the gun.
or obtain a gun.
Right.
But you have a hell of a time obtaining your voting rights.
You go to the state fairgrounds where they have gun shows. What it seemed like once a month over there.
Right. It's hard to get a library card, and even if you get one, it's hard to find a library that's worth anything
That's right.
around here. I've never seen libraries as pitiful as the ones here. Even the main library in Dura-Welty was a joke.
Yeah.
My personal library is better than in Dura-Welty's. And that's the main library for the city of Jackson.
When you look at those books in there, they're so old
So old.
and antique. You can
Yeah.
see the brownness.
MS-DOS in their computer section.
Still DOS.
Yes.
Nobody runs DOS operating
Right.
system.
No.
Mississippi Department of Human Services still runs COBOL.
Wow.
Whoa.
I heard Bob Anderson himself say it at a town hall meeting last week. They're asking for $155 million to upgrade the computers. They're still running.
But they don't want to upgrade.
No.
Right?
Well, that's what
You
he
don't
said.
want to upgrade because if we know the Mississippi Department of Human Services, right?
Right.
That's how all the TANF theft took place, the
Right.
welfare fraud took place.
Oh, we got that coming up.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you keep things antique because you know that the more antique and old, outdated things are,
Slower to
it's harder
respond.
to keep a track
Yeah.
record of what's actually happening.
Yeah.
And so it was all by design again that they keep an outdated a system using COBOL. Come on.
Yeah.
I didn't even know. I hadn't heard that name in a while.
Oh, right.
So next on the list, folks, is another thing with the schools now. We talked to you before about 2017 under the former governor, Phil Bryant. An attempt was made to take over the Jackson Public School District. It didn't end up going through. The overall grades for the Jackson Public Schools system have risen. As of the 2022-2023 year, according to Mississippi Department of Education, the district itself has a C. There's a lot of A's on schools, there's a lot of B's on schools, there's a lot of C's on schools, and there are some D's, and I think one F. Is it Kiersky? Did that ring a bell?
Kursky?
Kursky, I think might be a,
Kirksey.
Kirksey, thank you. Might be a D or an F, but anyway, so again, I believe part of this coordinated effort that these people are making, along comes this HB 1452 by a senator up in Starkville from Winston, District 43, Winston, and how you say?
Atibaha.
Atibaha. I say it right?
Atibaha.
Ha.
And he lives in Starkville. Starkville right in the middle
Yes.
of that, I guess.
Yeah.
And the bill is about school choice. You know, we have 10 charter schools now in the state of Mississippi, 7 of them in the metro. And guess what their report cards show? It's not like it's straight A's across the board. It's not like that at all. They're not, I wouldn't say measurably different from what we have in Jackson, but it's private schools and
Right.
people paying tuitions. And now you have this guy, Rob Roberson, the representative from Starkville, put in this school choice, establish opportunity scholarships and open enrollment for public school students. So the nuts and the bolts of it are, if you have if you're in a D or an F school and in an adjacent district or adjacent district, there's a private school over there, they're going to pay the money. Now this is even when this is before the Mississippi Supreme Court right now, giving taxpayer money to private schools, right? Remember she put the nix on the 10 million from the last session. They voted for 10 million infrastructure money to go to private schools. I talked to some of our people in our delegation, and they're like, well, Chris, some of that would go to Rust, some of that would go to Tougaloo, and so they voted for it. Almost everybody voted for it. But now it's at the Supreme Court. And a 3-judge panel met just a couple of weeks ago. Justice Leslie King, who I've not had the pleasure to meet yet, but I'd love to. It was the top person on the panel, and they heard oral arguments. Nothing's been handed down yet. So, I see this whole thing with school choice, because as soon as those dollars go here, then you can easily tell that you ain't getting any more. You're going to get less.
Right.
So you're gonna siphon money out of the public school system, and what are you really getting out of it?
Resegregation.
What's the outcome?
Resegregation.
I like asking the question, what's the payoff?
Yeah, resegregation. In other words, you're going to have unfair educational opportunities that are going to be exacerbated because of this. So if you are of a certain economic ilk, you can bypass this. But if you are like the majority of Mississippians, which you're barely above the poverty level or somewhat below the poverty level, this is going to affect you. So they'll go back to hand-me-down books. They'll go back to teachers who aren't well equipped to teach.
Maati, look,
overcrowded schools.
Let me add to what you're saying. In the title of this thing, they have the words low income. An act to create the Opportunity Scholarship Program to provide low income. This is as twisted as it gets, I think.
Yeah.
Low-income public school and pre-kindergarten students an opportunity to attend an approved non-public school or pre-kindergarten program.
How many are going to qualify for that?
Absolutely. And let's just
some
be
numbers
clear
built in
that
there.
charter schools are for profit.
There you go.
Oh,
Right.
Of course.
Right.
And so you have private schools, you have private prisons. A lot of those who are making the decisions and top leadership in our state, they have interest in the private prisons and the private schools. And so that's why it all goes back to money. Follow the money,
Yeah.
right? And it circles right back to the money. But we have to begin to awaken our people, give them the knowledge and let them know. And it's so hard because when you've been bamboozled for so long, when you have the money to put out this racist, extremist propaganda that this is what's best for your child. Because number one, we have to talk about how they won't even fund public school.
Right.
Right.
And now they're talking about fiddling with the formula.
Right.
The one that they haven't followed for how long now?
Since 2009, I think the MAP formula, or 2001, it was the early 2000s, I believe.
Yeah.
So the formula was created, and I think they only funded that formula maybe once or twice.
Yeah.
And they have not funded the MAP formula, and that means fully funding public education. There was a campaign that was ran by One Voice and other organizations. I know that one of the, I can't recall his names, the gentleman's name, but he was a former elected official that was behind this push as well for Better Schools, Better Jobs initiative. And it was Initiative 42 on the ballot that we were highly cheated out of.
Oh,
that would have forced.
That's when the Supreme Court broke it all down.
That's when, yes. And so that would have forced the state to fully fund public education. And that battle was won on that ballot initiative. But they put in a second part to the initiative. The legislators went back and added some confusing language, asking something about if the Constitution should be changed or something. It threw off the voters.
Yeah.
And so in one aspect, you won by a landslide.
Yeah.
But then on the second question, where voters became confused, you lost by a small margin.
Yeah.
And so that actually was a win. But again, we continue to see our extremist extremist leadership come in and they do what they want to do, whether it's with the ballot initiative, whether it's with these old Jim Crow laws that are still on the books of Mississippi, such as slavery by incarceration.
And the lifetime voter disenfranchisement, it's bizarre.
Yeah.
By felons.
Bizarre.
Yeah, yeah.
And I guess 10 states still have some remnants of that.
Absolutely.
But all the others, it's been gone for a long time.
That's right.
Well, Mississippi leads. Mississippi tells the nation how racist it can become. You know, Trump wasn't born in Mississippi, but
No.
Mississippi has tutored Trump in terms of how far he can take
Oh,
it.
they go down there and kiss the ring whenever they can.
Yeah.
Even Hoseman went down this last spring after the last legislative session.
Yes.
So I saw some report of $7,000 worth of campaign monies or something for him to go down and kiss the ring. A lot of people want to look at him like he's the smartest guy in the room. A lot of people want to
Small
call him a
room.
Democrat.
Oh, please.
I often tell folks when they ask, what is Mississippi like? I say, look at America. And when you look at America, you're looking at Mississippi.
You really are.
I just tell him I started a show called Sizzling in Mississippi.
Mississippi, goddamn.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Nina Simone hit it on the
Yeah,
head when she
yeah.
did that song.
Yeah.
Ladies, what about this thing? Did you see this thing? You mentioned the welfare scandal earlier, Danielle. Did you guys see this thing about Shadrach? The Shadrach White, the state auditor, is now being sued by the Attorney General. Now we know that Greta Kemp Martin came up in here one night, Danielle, and told us that there's probably 300 employees over there at the Attorney General's office, and 150 of them are attorneys. But yet they got a Jones Day. They got a private firm now that's doing the legal work for the welfare scandal. So the taxpayers are paying for all them attorneys at the Attorney General's office. Now they're also paying again
Yes.
for outside counsel. Now, why in the world, if the little state auditor, Shadrach White,
Yes.
good Catholic man, family man, you know, and he wants to recoup money from Brett Favre now, the interest that didn't get paid or something like that, and the Attorney General say, well, yeah, we can't help you out on that. You got to get your own. So now he going to get private attorney because the Attorney General of his state won't do the prosecuting to go after Favre. And now she is suing him. So does it take a rocket scientist to figure out what's going on and who's protecting who?
Yeah. Lynn Finch, I will not call her AG. I'm going to call her by first name because she has not garnered any respect from me. So it is very clear who she is. She's a extremist.
She's a product of a segregation
She's
academy.
absolutely a product of the segregation academy. But let's be very clear. This woman is nothing more than a dog whistler herself. But if you go back and you look at the level of experience, she's never tried a case before.
She went from agriculture? No, that's sinning.
So you have an attorney general that's to fight for the entire state, represent the entire state. But all of her interest is not for the people of Mississippi, but for every entity that comes in and violates Mississippi and Mississippians, even to the law enforcement, where she made a claim that she will stand behind the thin line, the blue line, the brothers in blue, the cold blue, and all of that, and we must support them. And in other words, she said whether they're right or wrong, and me paraphrasing it and what I got, whether the police officers are right or wrong, we're going to support our men in blue, men and women in blue, right?
Right.
And so we've seen some grave injustices that just happened here. That was a slap in the face to those who are victims of the individuals that are deceased. And then you have this where you steal from the poor
In
like
the
people
poorest
that
state
were
the
in the poorest state, that with the highest poverty rate in this country.
And you steal from them.
46% of 40+% of Mississippi's population live in poverty. That's data driven.
Yes.
That can be proven.
Right.
1.3 million people, poor and low wealth people, are living in poverty in this country. We have the poorest county in the poorest state that sits in the state of Mississippi, Holmes County.
Holmes, right.
And yet we cannot get elected officials to force a conversation about poverty. This is why we're having this rally on March 2nd.
Yeah.
This is the importance, because we know that poor and low income voters can change the dynamic, can change the outcome of any election in the state.
Right.
We have the ability to shift the tide. And so when we wake up the sleeping giant, we are a force to be reckoned with. And this is why there's an attack on the blackest city in America.
Right.
Because the voting power here in this city, in this county alone,
Could push
could
it over.
push any election over.
Right.
It was just 26,000.
Do you see how close we came in November?
Yeah.
Right.
27,000.
And we definitely was cheated out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of that election. And so here we are again today. We're seeing blatant elected officials who are full of corruption. Let's just call Finch what it is. She's full of corruption. She knows that she's violating the Constitution. An expert wrote in the article that it says in the state's constitution that the state auditor can pursue a case and the attorney general shall, and didn't say she has
Yeah.
the right to decide if she wants to prosecute, but it clearly says that she shall prosecute. So this notion that I'm not going to prosecute or this office is not going to help you, this woman, you are violating your own state law, constitution. So where's the balance here? Right? How do we follow and think that these people, folks like A.G. Lynn Fitch, our Governor Tate Reeves, any of these people have our best interests at heart? They don't give a damn about us. Capitol Police here is not here to save us.
No.
It's here to run us out of this city.
Right.
Three cars at a time for
Three cars at a time.
Every little traffic
you
stop.
asked me how much violence has slowed down since Capitol Police has been. As a matter of fact, it has escalated.
Yeah.
Because when you treat people like animals,
Right.
they go out and act like animals.
When you said follow the money too earlier, Danielle, I was thinking for months I've been thinking about trying to, but I know they're going to try to charge me all kinds of money for the public records request, but I would like to see just a quarter, from 1/4, the fuel expenses from Jackson Police Department. And then for the same quarter, the fuel expenses for Capitol Police.
Right.
And I bet you they're 75% higher than the whole city of Jackson Police Department.
Yeah, and speaking of,
They go in threes.
that's right.
They scared of some. That's not community policing.
Yeah.
And they don't get out of them vehicles unless they have to.
And they're in SUVs, so
Yeah.
they're alone.
Interrupted your thought, I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to say that, when we're talking about Capitol Police and we're talking about the policing system and you're seeing Capitol Police around the city acting like renegades.
Yeah.
Some vultures out here, right? They're doing that not for the safety of Jacksonians.
Right.
They're trying to obtain some millions of dollars, a grant that they have to show policing work out here in the community to be able to obtain these resources, right? And so when they get these resources, they want to add more pay. They want to do a competitive salary, want to be able to compete with surrounding agencies
Sure.
to pay more money.
Right.
You want to bring in more officers than JPD. You want to make JPD inferior to Capitol Police
And the sheriffs.
and the sheriff, right? And then you have a sheriff who doesn't know how to stand his ground or have any backbone and go along with that madness. But then I thank God for JPD, who has some form of backbone and are standing their ground and not allowing Capitol Police to just trample and run and do whatever they want to do. Now, the state law is passed, so JPD can't tell Capitol Police, don't go here, don't go there.
Right.
You have to take that up with your legislators. But just the other day, I got a picture of Capitol Police literally profiling some young black men on Meadowbrook Road. And I asked the individual that was recording, did they get a ticket? Did they go to jail? They say no, they just let him go. If you look on this Facebook page, you all, and I do my homework, right? So I talk a lot. But if you look on this page called Central Mississippi Mugshot,
Okay.
whenever you see Capitol Police arresting someone, right? Normally when you are arrested, you first, you should have a probable cause for being arrested. If I ran a stop sign, I should be given that citation for a stop sign.
Yeah.
Right? If I ran a red light or if I was swerving in the road, reckless driving, there should be something following other than you got me with the possession of controlled substance or possession of marijuana or whatever the case may be, right? Or you had a warrant out for your arrest, driving with suspended license. Well, what was your reason for pulling me over from the beginning, right? I had an individual.
Talked about that.
Yeah, on Livingston Road, you know, right here. I was coming to the office one day. By the way, our office is right in this building. And I just so happened to turn into the second driveway. And I turned around to come over to the first driveway, and Capitol Police was sitting on the side street. So as I came out of the first driveway over to the main driveway, the officer zoomed behind me so fast. And I turned in, but I hit my brakes really hard because at this point, I'm pissed off.
Oh, yeah.
You are chasing me down like I'm a dog.
Yeah.
Right? So I get out of my car and I'm like, why are you pulling me over? You're trying to avoid a roadblock. I said, no, sir, I'm not. I said, but if I didn't want to go down there, this is a free country.
Yeah.
Right. You don't
I can go wherever I want to go. I can turn my car around wherever I want to turn my car around, right?
Right.
But for the record, I'm here at my office and you're violating me. So that really pissed them off and made them look small. But I'd already gotten a call about how they had harassed a maybe 70 or 80-year-old woman that was well dressed. She didn't look like she was coming from somewhere stealing or anything. And frail elderly woman driving down the street. She see this line of cars.
Yeah.
She see the blue lights. She don't know if it's a killing going on down there or shooting is taking place.
Right.
So in her old age, she's turning around, right? I'm going to get out of this mess and go the other way.
Right.
And she was harassed. And my colleague said that by the time Capitol Police had finished with her, she was so shaken that she had to pull over. And she could not even pull off at the moment because she was bawling in tears. And this is not our only first complaint. I know we've gotten off subject here, right? But this going back to the school choice, right? This is one of the reasons why we see that all of this stuff is by design. You force a takeover with you want Capitol Police to come in and harass black males, black women, black people, period. As I've said the other day, everything black is under attack in Mississippi.
Right.
And it
As
really
usual.
is. And we are seeing it, and it's blatant.
Yeah.
And so when you have a school system here in the city that's predominantly black, now we force it where show enough is already schools are closing. But then if you force it where school vouchers are now an option, then the public school systems, because parents
It's going to get eroded
in their
even
mind
further.
thinks that these charter schools are better when there's data to prove that your child is worse off in a charter school than public school.
Yeah.
And so when you see Capitol Police coming in, you see these charter, these vouchers for going to private schools, you see the takeover of Jackson, is all an attack on blacks. And the people that are impacted are those that are either middle income or poor. Poor whites are impacted as well. So it doesn't just become a black thing. The attack starts with blacks, right? But then there's a domino effect of who else it would impact.
Caste system.
And so you have white elected officials that are extremists that don't even care about their own people. All they know is that they want to hurt a certain set of people.
Right.
And they don't care who it impacts as long as it doesn't impact their wealthy friends, the 1%.
Right. Yeah. Collateral damage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maati, do you want to hit that last topic or you want to push it to next week?
We can Let's see, what time do we have? I think we're over our time now.
Well, we could take another 5 if.
Okay, we'll take a 5 then.
Okay.
And the Black Conservative Federation gala that they had, and they invited Trump to speak, and he said, "Oh, the lights up here are so bright, I can't see anybody in the audience." And then he kind of thought about what he said and tried to square it up a bit, and he said, I can only see black people. I can't see any white people." And then he, what else?
Wow.
Yeah,
He said something about black people can identify him now that he's
Yeah.
convicted.
now
been
that
convicted.
he's been, now that he has so many charges on him, we have a certain type of kinship and understanding for him.
Just bizarre.
And it's really insulting because you're saying that black people are so criminally minded that as soon as somebody catches a case, we understand.
But then you had people like the Florida representative, Byron Donalds,
Yeah.
defended, said, look, overall, almost saying, don't pay attention to that. The big picture is he'll be better for us kind of thing.
Yeah,
it just-
and he won't be.
No.
Who is that? The campaign manager, black man for Biden, said his performance, Trump's performance, was moronic.
Cedric Richmond. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I have to agree. It
Absolutely.
was moronic.
Moronic.
And it was just really insulting.
I don't know how many
really.
people were in that room, but it just,
Yeah, I don't know. how
I
they
can't
stood there.
imagine.
Yeah,
I
I don't know how they stood it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just one insult after another. And if they remain on the Trump train, then,
And I wasn't able to pull the thing, but I can't recall the website it came from. But apparently, at the for the primary over the weekend in South Carolina,
Right.
the unnamed conservative donors sent out 75,000 mailers to predominantly black households in the Charleston area, using the focal point of he trying to take your menthol cigarettes away, but underneath tucking in all these points of how horrible Biden is, but hit right off the bat with that's the guy that's trying to take your menthol cigarettes away. And there's some type of war going on between the Biden administration and I think Reverend Al is involved in it. I think Crump is involved in it, fighting over what the real motivation for trying to take away menthol cigarettes is.
Well,
they're poison, so,
I will reserve my comment for those two that you, yeah.
Well, Danielle, we thank you so much. Now, look, everybody, anybody around the state, I'm going to Selma on Sunday. So if you live as far away as Selma, you could come to Jackson on Saturday. And you want to be at Smith Robertson Museum at 10 a.m. You want to definitely, if you don't make it to that, you want to be up to the Capitol area, same side?
On the south side.
On the south side.
Mississippi Street.
For sure, be there by,
11.
Be there by 11. And the whole kickoff will be at noon?
At noon.
At noon.
And this is our Selma on Saturday.
There you
this
go.
is our
There you go.
Selma
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
on Saturday.
Right.
Selma, what's going on in Alabama is one thing,
Yeah.
but when we talk about what marching we need to do,
Right here,
what
right
we
now.
need to face, this is our Selma.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
it
we
is.
see that there's an aggressive attack on blacks
Yes.
and on just our democracy, our just and equitable democracy.
Right.
So this must be our Selma this coming Saturday. And we only get one shot, and we must show them that we are serious about coming together. We're serious about fighting back. You ain't got to like me. We don't have to get along. But can we come together for this time, for this moment, to let them know
Right.
that we are here to fight and we're not turning back and we won't be
We're
silent.
not pawns to get stepped
That's
on.
right. We will not be silent. And everybody has a right to live in this state. And so the refusal to expand Medicaid, this poisonous water that's killing off a whole population of people that don't know that they're dying from this.
Right.
We have to talk about these issues, and we will continue to challenge the state of Mississippi, fight the state of Mississippi, and hold the state of Mississippi accountable. It's not just about local municipalities, but we're starting at the top where the problem lies.
We thank you so much for joining us tonight, Danielle.
Thank you.
The door's
for
going to
having
be
me.
wide open anytime.
Anytime.
Any parting thoughts, Maati?
No, not at this point. I think that people need to be aware and that they need to support on Saturday.
Yes.
Show up and show out.
Wait till the producer starts clipping this show up. Oh my gosh, the views are going to be crazy.
Good.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for another installment of Sizzling Mississippi. We'll be back with you again next Monday night at 6:30 Central Time. Do your best to take care of one another and take care of yourself first, so you can take care of everybody. Just like on the airplane, when they say you put the mask up on you first, then put it on the child. So take care of yourself. And your health first and foremost, and then the people around you. And don't forget, Saturday, no later than 12 noon over there at the Capitol. Big rollout Saturday at noon. Earlier, if you can be there, come along, take the march. It's only, maybe a quarter of a mile or something half a mile from Smith Robertson.
It's not even that long. It's
Okay.
about a quarter of a mile.
Quarter of a mile. See you there Saturday. Take care.